Hello, this is Krystal Stanich, and thank you for joining me for this week's First Chapter Friday. Today I will be reading from the beginning of Kelly Bishop's memoir, The Third Gilmore Girl. Chapter 1. Looking back, it still fascinates me how a single, seemingly ordinary phone call changed my life. It wasn't accompanied by a heavenly chord from a choir of angels, or a sudden beam of sunlight bursting through the overcast sky into my apartment window. Not so much as a twinge of awareness on my part that something huge was happening. Just a call from my old friend, Tony Stevens. It was 1974, a typical cold, bleak January day in New York City. I'd been working as a chorus dancer in New York and around the country since 1962. I was very good at it. And while the money wasn't great, shows had come along steadily enough that, unlike so many of my fellow dancers, I never had to supplement my income with side jobs as a waitress or a cashier or an office temp. I'd been in love with the joy and the freedom of dancing since I was 8 years old. Now I was just weeks away from my 30th birthday, and the average shelf life of a chorus dancer was right around 35 years. I was yearning to make the transition into acting, into principal roles playing actual characters with actual names. Actresses, after all, could keep working as long as their health held out and someone was writing parts for them. I'd given myself a 2-year deadline to start turning down chorus work and either broaden my skills as a performer or say goodbye to show business and move on to something else. And with my marriage disintegrating at the same time, I was ready to move pretty much anywhere, except where I'd already been, when I picked up the phone and heard Tony's voice. "Mitch and Peacock and I have an idea I'd like to run by you," he said. Tony and Mitchen were Broadway dancers. I'd worked with Mitchen and liked her, and I knew Tony very well. He was a terrific human being and a terrific dancer who'd also done some choreography, a fun, funny, energetic guy who loved being around other really good dancers. Whatever idea those two had come up with, I was already interested. Broadway was struggling in 1974. Shows were becoming more and more expensive to produce. Many of them flopped, and backers were looking elsewhere for places to invest their money. As a result, a lot of wonderful dancers were out of work, through no fault of their own. Tony and Meechin had been talking about that, and about the fact that whether a show was succeeding or failing, Broadway producers were the ones who historically called all the shots, made all the money, and got all the credit, while we dancers were, to quote Tony, the blue-collar workers of the performing arts. The question was what, if anything, could be done to shake things up, level the playing field a little, and maybe even get some control of our lives. So what Meechin and I would like to do, he told me, is gather a group of gifted, experienced Broadway dancers and see if we could organize some kind of company in which everyone gets a chance to explore their other interests in the business. Writing, directing, set design, costume design, whatever completes the sentence. I've been dancing for years, but I've always been curious about exploring fill in the blank. We'd love for you to be a part of that group, just to get together, throw some ideas around, and see what comes of it. What do you think? Thinking wasn't necessary. Tell me when and where, and count me in. Tony had already secured access to a dance studio called the Nicholas Exercise Center on East 23rd Street, so we'd be meeting there, and he'd call me back with the date and time. Still, no choir of angels. No ethereal beam of sunlight pouring through my apartment window. Just the thought that it was nice to have something potentially productive to look forward to and distract me from being unemployed and headed for a divorce that should probably have happened months, maybe even years ago. Tony called back a couple of days later. The meeting was set for Saturday, January 26th at 11 p.m. A few of the 19 dancers who were coming were doing shows, and they couldn't be there until after their shows let out. I was writing it in my calendar when he casually added, "By the way, Michael Bennett heard about this, so he'll be there too, just as an observer." Oh God. And if you would like to know what happens next, you can check this out on the Libby app. Please join me here in a few weeks as I read from the beginning of Joanne Fluke's Christmas Sweets. Thank you and have a great week.